Communication is the bridge that connects us all. It shapes how we interact, how we understand each other, and how we influence the world around us. In this book, you will unlock the secrets to effective communication. Not just speaking, but truly connecting. You'll learn how to listen with intent, speak with clarity, and express yourself with confidence. Whether at work, in friendships, or in intimate relationships, your ability to communicate can make or break your success. Stay with me through these pages, and don't forget to subscribe, because this journey will change how you connect with the world forever. Chapter 1. The Power of Active Listening. Communication begins with listening, and yet most people think it begins with speaking. We spend so much time formulating our response that we forget to listen. We are so eager to express ourselves that we often miss what others are really saying. But active listening is the true foundation of connection. When you listen actively, you not only hear words, you hear emotions, you hear intent, you hear the unspoken message beneath the surface. Active listening is more than just hearing sounds. It's about being fully present in the moment. It's about understanding what the speaker feels, not just what they're saying. People don't just want to be heard. They want to be understood. And when you actively listen, you give them that understanding. It all begins with presence. To listen actively, you must be in the moment, without distractions, without judgment. You must give your full attention to the speaker, not just with your ears, but with your heart. When you give someone your full attention, they feel valued. And when people feel valued, they open up, they share more, they trust more. Active listening also means giving the speaker space. Don't interrupt. Don't finish their sentences. Allow them to express their thoughts completely before you respond. This pause is powerful.
It lets the other person feel heard.
It shows them that you respect their words enough to listen fully. Listening is an act of respect. When you truly listen to someone, you honor their perspective. You recognize that their thoughts and feelings matter. In active listening, body language plays a huge role. A slight nod, maintaining eye contact, leaning slightly forward. These small gestures signal that you're engaged. You may not realize it, but people pick up on your energy when you listen. Your body speaks louder than your words ever could. When you give someone your undivided attention, you send a message that says, your words matter. You matter. Active listening also requires empathy. It's not just about hearing the words. It's about feeling the emotion behind them. It's about understanding the speaker's needs, fears, hopes, and desires. When you empathize, you connect at a deeper level. You don't just hear their story, you feel it, and that shared understanding creates an unspoken bond. But empathy doesn't mean agreeing with everything they say. It means validating their feelings, acknowledging their experiences, and showing that you care. People don't always need solutions. Sometimes they just need someone to listen. Sometimes the greatest gift you can offer is to listen without offering advice. Active listening also involves asking thoughtful questions. Questions that show you're genuinely interested. Questions that encourage the speaker to open up further. But remember, it's not about bombarding them with questions. It's about asking questions that deepen the conversation. Questions that help them explore their own thoughts and feelings. For example, instead of asking, "How was your day?" ask, "What was the most interesting part of your day?" This shift in questioning shows that you're listening attentively, and it invites the speaker to share more. Active listening also requires patience. You must be willing to sit in silence if needed, allowing the other person to gather their thoughts. Silence can be uncomfortable, but it's a powerful tool in communication. It gives the speaker time to reflect, to process, and to express themselves more clearly. When you allow for silence, you show that you value their thoughts enough to wait for them to be fully expressed. Another key aspect of active listening is non-judgmental acceptance. You don't listen to judge. You listen to understand. When you listen with judgment, you create distance between yourself and the speaker. You make them feel like they have to defend their words. But when you listen with an open mind, you create space for honest dialogue. In active listening, you suspend your own opinions and biases. You listen to understand the other person's point of view, not to argue or challenge them. This non-judgmental approach builds trust and rapport. It shows that you're open to their perspective, even if you don't agree with everything they say. Active listening also helps you retain information more effectively. When you listen fully, you process what's being said at a deeper level. You don't just remember facts, you remember feelings. You remember context. You remember the emotional undertone, and this deeper understanding makes your responses more thoughtful and relevant. It also strengthens your ability to communicate in the future. But active listening requires discipline. It's easy to get distracted by your own thoughts, to jump ahead and think of what you're going to say next. But when you do this, you stop listening. You stop connecting. To be an active listener, you must let go of your need to control the conversation. You must surrender to the moment and give your full attention to the speaker. This surrender doesn't mean you lose your voice. It means you respect the other person's voice enough to let them be heard fully first. Active listening also creates a sense of emotional safety. When you listen actively, you create an environment where others feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and feelings. They know they won't be judged or interrupted. This emotional safety allows people to be vulnerable, and vulnerability builds connection. As a communicator, mastering active listening will change the way you relate to others. It will change the way people respond to you. It will make your relationships deeper, more meaningful, and more genuine. Because when you listen with intention, you invite others to be fully themselves, and when they feel heard and understood, they open up in ways they never would have otherwise. In the workplace, active listening is invaluable. It helps you understand your colleagues' needs, goals, and challenges. It makes you a better leader, a better teammate, and a better collaborator. In personal relationships, active listening is the key to intimacy. It creates a space where both people feel valued and understood. It allows love and connection to thrive. Active listening isn't a skill you master once and forget about. It's an ongoing practice, a discipline, a way of being. The more you practice active listening, the easier it becomes to connect deeply with others. The more you listen, the more people will feel heard, valued, and seen. And that connection is the foundation of all effective communication. Chapter 2: The Power of Nonverbal Communication. Communication goes far beyond words. It's in the way we stand, the way we smile, the way we look away, the way we pause. Nonverbal communication speaks louder than anything we can say. It's the first thing people notice, and the last thing they forget. When you walk into a room, your body speaks for you before you open your mouth. It tells people whether you're open, whether you're confident, whether you're approachable. Nonverbal signals are the silent architects of connection. They shape the way others perceive you, and more importantly, how they feel around you. Everything we do sends a message. The way you sit,
The way you gesture,
the way you move your hands, the way your eyes meet or avoid another person's. Your body doesn't lie. It speaks with a truth that words can't capture. The subtle shift of your posture can signal discomfort. The quick glance away can signal disinterest. The slight tilt of your head can signal curiosity. And people feel these signals instantly, before you even speak. They've already formed an impression based on your nonverbal cues. This is why body language is often more powerful than the words you say. It creates an emotional atmosphere that words can't match. But it's not just about what you do, it's about how others perceive it. You can say one thing, but your body may say something entirely different. A forced smile says, "I'm fine," but your body language says, "I'm uncomfortable." An open posture says, "I'm confident," but your nervous movements say, "I'm unsure." People read these inconsistencies quickly, and the moment your body betrays your words, your message loses power. This is the true art of nonverbal communication. It's about aligning what you say with how you say it. It's about matching your body to your words, so your message lands as true, honest, and clear. Your eyes are one of the most powerful tools in nonverbal communication. The way you look at someone can build connection or create distance. A gaze that lingers too long feels invasive. A gaze that avoids contact feels distant. A warm, steady look builds trust, while a cold, disinterested glance creates suspicion. Eye contact signals emotional engagement. It's the most direct way to communicate attentiveness, honesty, and connection. But it's not just about looking, it's about how you look. The slight narrowing of the eyes can signal skepticism. The softening of the eyes can signal empathy. The way you blink, fast or slow, conveys emotional response. Mastering eye contact means knowing when to meet someone's gaze and when to soften it, when to hold their attention and when to look away. But nonverbal communication is more than just facial expressions. It's the entire body at work. Posture speaks volumes. An open posture signals openness and confidence. A slouched posture signals uncertainty or discomfort. A stiff posture can signal defensiveness. A relaxed posture signals comfort and trust. The way you hold yourself gives others insight into your inner state. When you are confident, your body shows it. When you are anxious, your body shows that too. Nonverbal communication is about aligning your internal state with your external expression. When your body reflects your confidence, others feel it and mirror it. When your body shows discomfort, others pick up on it, and they feel uncomfortable too. Gestures also play a huge role in how we communicate. They are the punctuation to our words. A raised hand shows emphasis. A pointed finger shows direction. A hand on the chin signals contemplation. Gestures add texture to our speech. They reinforce what we say. Or, when they contradict our words, they confuse the message entirely. When you speak with open hands, you appear more approachable. When you speak with crossed arms, you appear closed off. But the true beauty of gestures is in their subtlety. A small nod of agreement can reinforce your message. A slight shrug can signal uncertainty. A soft gesture can add warmth. Nonverbal communication is also about creating connection. We mirror each other's movements naturally. When we're engaged with someone, we often unconsciously mimic their gestures, their posture, their tone. This mirroring creates a sense of unity. It builds rapport without a word being spoken. It's why you feel comfortable with some people instantly, because your body language aligns without even trying. When we mirror each other, we feel seen, heard, understood. This is the power of nonverbal communication. It creates connection at a deeper, more intuitive level. But nonverbal cues can also build or destroy trust. When someone's words don't match their body language, trust breaks down. A smile without eye contact feels insincere. A compliment without a genuine tone feels hollow. A handshake that's too firm or too weak feels forced. When words and body language don't align, people notice, and they start questioning your authenticity. This is why consistency is so important in nonverbal communication. When your actions match your words, you gain credibility. When your body language supports your message, people believe in you. Nonverbal communication also affects how you make others feel. It is about creating space for others to feel safe, valued, and respected. A slight nod, a warm smile, a steady gaze. These signals make others feel heard. They make others feel understood. They make others feel comfortable in your presence. But nonverbal cues can also create discomfort. The slightest frown, a look of disinterest, a tense posture. These cues send a message that says, "Stay away." The social masters are acutely aware of these signals. They know that their body is speaking even when their mouth isn't. They know how to adjust their posture, tone, and gaze to create connection, not disruption. Every interaction, no matter how small, is an opportunity to use nonverbal communication to its full potential. It's not just about talking. It's about making sure everything you do aligns with the message you want to send. When you master nonverbal communication, you master the art of connection. You make people feel understood without saying a word. You lead conversations without dominating them. You influence people without coercion. Social intelligence is about reading the space between words, understanding the silent cues that others give, and knowing how to adjust your energy accordingly. It's about using body language to amplify your message and ensuring that your gestures, tone, and posture all say the same thing. In a world full of noise, non-verbal communication cuts through. It's the quiet force that shapes every interaction, every relationship, and every connection. The more you practice it, the more effortlessly it flows. And as you become aware of these subtle cues, you will find that communication becomes less of an effort and more of a natural, flowing exchange. Because when your words and body language align, you create a deeper connection. You create influence. You create trust. And that is the power of nonverbal communication. Chapter 3. The Art of Empathy in Communication. Empathy is the soul of communication. It's the thread that connects people at a deep level, beyond words, beyond gestures, beyond intentions. When you truly empathize with someone, you don't just hear their words. You hear their feelings, their struggles, their hopes. Empathy isn't sympathy. It's not about feeling sorry for someone. It's not about sharing their pain or joy. It's about understanding them, without judgment, without assumption. It's about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, not to walk their path, but to understand why their steps matter. Empathy creates a space where people feel truly heard. It's the doorway to connection. When you empathize with someone, you communicate without barriers. You meet them where they are, not where you want them to be. This deep, emotional understanding shifts everything in a conversation. It shifts the energy, the tone, the direction. When someone feels that you understand their feelings, they feel safe, they feel open, they feel ready to share more. Empathy allows you to navigate conversations with ease. It allows you to adjust your tone to meet their emotional state. It allows you to listen deeply, not just to their words, but to their silence. Empathy is about listening with your heart. It's about being present without judgment, without the urge to fix, without the need to dominate the conversation. Sometimes people just want to be understood. They don't need solutions. They need space to be heard. And when you offer that space with empathy, you unlock deeper levels of trust and connection. Empathy also requires emotional intelligence, the ability to read emotional cues, understand feelings, and navigate them skillfully. When you're emotionally attuned to someone, you don't just react to their words. You feel their mood, their energy, their emotional state. And when you respond with empathy, you mirror that energy gently. You meet them emotionally, not with solutions, but with understanding. Empathy isn't about taking on someone else's emotions. It's about holding space for them to feel what they need to feel. It's about respecting their emotional world and responding with kindness and authenticity. It's this authentic connection that creates lasting bonds. People trust those who truly understand them. They feel heard. They feel valued. They feel respected. When you communicate with empathy, you communicate with presence. You create a safe environment for both people to express themselves fully. And in this environment, ideas flow, emotions flow, connections flow. Empathy is the art of knowing when to listen and when to speak. It's the skill of sensing what someone else needs in the moment, whether it's comfort, clarity, reassurance, or simply a listening ear. The truly empathetic person doesn't just react. They respond with intention. They know how to adapt their communication style to the emotional needs of others. Empathy is also a powerful tool in conflict resolution. When you empathize with the other person's position, you de-escalate tension without needing to agree. You validate their feelings, and you give them space to express themselves fully. You stop seeing conflict as a battle to win, and start seeing it as an opportunity to understand. This shift in perspective transforms the way you handle disagreements, turning them into opportunities for deeper connection rather than division. Empathy also extends beyond personal interactions. In a professional environment, empathy fosters collaboration and understanding. It allows co-workers to connect emotionally, breaking down barriers of hierarchy, role and status. When you lead with empathy, you create a culture where people feel respected, heard, and valued. This environment inspires trust and loyalty, and it makes teams work more effectively, more cohesively. Empathy doesn't mean agreeing with everyone. It doesn't mean accepting everything they say as truth. It means respecting their experience, their emotions, and their perspective, even if you don't fully understand them. Sometimes empathy requires patience. Sometimes it requires silence. Sometimes it requires simply being there for someone, without rushing them to feel better. True empathy allows others to work through their emotions at their own pace, and in that space, healing and growth happen naturally. People feel comfortable when they know they are being understood, when they don't have to explain themselves, when they can simply exist in their feelings, knowing that someone else gets it. Empathy also nurtures deeper understanding of yourself. By tuning into others' feelings, you become more aware of your own emotional responses. You become more in tune with your own needs, boundaries, and triggers. This self-awareness deepens your emotional intelligence and helps you communicate with more authenticity. When you are in touch with your own emotions, you communicate with more clarity and depth. Empathy isn't something you do, it's something you live. It's a way of seeing the world through someone else's eyes, without judgment, without agenda, and with an open heart. To communicate effectively, you must first learn to listen with empathy. You must learn to feel the emotions behind the words, to understand the unspoken needs of others. And when you do, communication becomes more than just exchanging information. It becomes a deeply transformative experience, one where both people leave feeling understood, connected, and heard. Empathy is the foundation of trust, and trust is the foundation of every meaningful connection. When you speak with empathy, your words have power. They have the power to heal, to soothe, to inspire. And when you listen with empathy, your presence becomes a gift of understanding, of respect, and of emotional connection. Empathy is not a skill to master. It is a way of being, a way of communicating with the world around you in the most human, authentic, and emotionally intelligent way possible. As you continue to cultivate empathy in your communication, you will find that your relationships deepen, your understanding grows, and your connection to others becomes more meaningful than you ever imagined. This is the true power of empathy, the ability to connect, not through words alone, but through the heart. Chapter 4. Clarity in Communication. Speaking with purpose. In communication, clarity is the foundation. It is the difference between a message that lands and one that gets lost. It is the difference between speaking to be heard and speaking to be understood. Clarity is not about simplicity. It is not about using fewer words. It is about using the right words at the right time with the right intention. When you speak with clarity, people feel the weight of your words. They feel your confidence. They feel your focus. They feel your purpose. Clarity comes from within. It starts with knowing exactly what you want to say. Before you speak, you must first understand your own thoughts and emotions. What is it you want to communicate? What message do you want to leave with others? The most effective communicators speak with a clear sense of purpose. They don't speak because they have to. They speak because they need to. They know that their words matter. They know that their message can inspire, inform, and change the course of a conversation. Clarity begins with intention. When you speak with purpose, every word carries weight. There's no wasted breath, no filler words. Every sentence is deliberate. Every pause is meaningful. The purpose behind your words is what gives them power. Without purpose, words become noise. With purpose, words become a force of influence. But clarity isn't just about what you say. It's about how you say it. It's about the structure of your message, the pacing and the tone. When you speak clearly, your message flows effortlessly. There's no confusion, no ambiguity. People understand exactly what you mean. Your words become a bridge that connects you to your audience. One of the most powerful ways to create clarity is through simplicity. But simplicity doesn't mean dumbing down your message. It means stripping away the unnecessary, the clutter, the complexity. Clarity thrives in simplicity. The more direct and focused your message, the easier it is for people to grasp and retain. People listen to simplicity because it feels accessible. It feels like something they can take with them. Simplicity also makes your message more memorable. People remember what is clear, what is straightforward. They forget what is convoluted and complicated. Another key aspect of clarity is structure. A clear message is organized. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It doesn't wander off course. It stays on track and delivers its point efficiently. When you organize your thoughts before speaking, you prevent the conversation from getting lost in unnecessary details. You keep the focus on the core message. This structure allows your audience to follow along with ease. They can see where you're going and why. They understand how your points connect and build upon each other. Clarity also involves tone. Your tone is the emotional undertone that accompanies your words. It sets the mood, shapes the perception, and influences how your message is received. A calm tone conveys control. A passionate tone conveys enthusiasm. A firm tone conveys authority. A gentle tone conveys kindness. Your tone must match the message you want to communicate. If you're explaining something important, your tone must be steady and clear. If you're inspiring action, your tone must be motivating and energizing. If you're offering comfort, your tone must be warm and reassuring. People don't just listen to what you say. They listen to how you make them feel. Your tone is a reflection of your emotional state. When you speak with clarity, your tone becomes an extension of your purpose. Clarity also requires precision. In a world full of distractions, precision keeps people's attention. It focuses their mind on what truly matters. Being precise with your words means you know exactly what you're saying and why. It means avoiding vagueness and instead offering clear, concrete language. It means eliminating any unnecessary fluff or filler that dilutes your message. Precision also means adapting your message to your audience. What works for one group may not work for another. To speak with clarity, you must understand your audience's perspective, needs, and expectations. Tailoring your message ensures that it resonates with your listeners. It makes your words relevant and impactful. This level of consideration is the hallmark of great communication. Clarity in communication also requires awareness of timing. You cannot speak with clarity if you don't know when to speak. Timing is just as important as the message itself. If you speak too soon, you miss the opportunity for your words to land. If you speak too late, the moment may have passed and your words will feel irrelevant. Knowing the right moment to express yourself creates maximum impact. Sometimes clarity comes from silence. The pause before you speak can be just as powerful as the words you say. A well-timed silence gives weight to your words. It allows your message to settle in the listener's mind. Timing also involves the pace at which you speak. When you speak too quickly, people struggle to follow. When you speak too slowly, people lose interest. Finding the right rhythm in your delivery keeps the audience engaged and focused. Clarity also thrives on emotional connection. When you speak from the heart, your words carry more meaning. People feel when you speak with genuine emotion. They connect with your message on a deeper level because they sense the authenticity behind it. Social masters communicate with emotional clarity. They know when to express warmth, when to show empathy, when to speak with authority, and when to stay calm and composed. They don't just communicate with their minds, but with their hearts. This emotional intelligence enhances clarity, making your message not only understood, but also felt. Clarity is also about listening. You cannot communicate clearly if you do not listen first. Listening helps you understand your audience's needs, so you can tailor your message to their level of understanding. When you listen actively, you create a space where the listener feels heard and valued. And when people feel valued, they are more likely to engage with your message. Clarity requires humility. It requires the ability to step back and consider the listener's perspective. It requires being open to feedback and adjusting your message accordingly. Sometimes clarity means simplifying complex ideas. The best communicators make the most complicated topics feel simple, without oversimplifying them. They break down barriers to understanding, removing any confusion or uncertainty. True clarity is not about speaking in perfect sentences, but it's about speaking in a way that people can understand, absorb, and act on. When you speak with clarity, your message becomes a tool for action. It drives decisions. It inspires movement. It creates change. Clarity is not just a skill. It is a mindset. It is a commitment to communicating with purpose, with precision, and with care. It is about making sure that everything you say carries meaning, that every word has value, and every message has impact. When you master the art of clarity in communication, you begin to connect with others in profound ways. You begin to inspire change, create understanding, and leave a lasting impression. And it all begins with knowing that every word matters, and speaking with the intention to make every word count. Chapter 5. Building Trust Through Transparent Communication. Trust is the foundation of every relationship. Without trust, communication is hollow. Without trust, words become empty gestures, and actions become meaningless. But trust is fragile. It is built over time, and it is easily broken. The key to building trust is transparency. When you communicate openly, honestly, and clearly, you create a safe space where trust can grow. Transparent communication is about being honest, but it's also about being authentic. It's about being real, without hiding behind walls, without disguising your intentions, without pretending to be someone you're not. Transparency is about showing people who you truly are, without fear of judgment, without fear of rejection. When you are transparent, you send a message to others that you are trustworthy. You show them that you have nothing to hide. You show them that they can rely on your words, because your actions and words align. When people trust you, they open up. They listen more. They share more. They allow you to influence their thoughts, their decisions, and their behaviors. But trust is not just about honesty. It's about consistency. Consistency is key in transparent communication. People trust those who show up the same way every time. People trust those whose words and actions match. People trust those who are reliable, steady, and dependable. When you communicate transparently, you consistently reinforce the idea that you are dependable. You show others that they can count on you. You show them that your words aren't empty promises, but commitments you're willing to stand by. Transparency also involves vulnerability. When you communicate openly, you reveal pieces of yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas, even your insecurities. This vulnerability creates connection. People connect with those who are real, those who are human. It's easy to build walls around yourself, to protect yourself from judgment or rejection. But when you hide behind these walls, you also hide your true self from others. And when you hide, you create distance. To build trust, you must be willing to let people see you, the real you, the imperfect you, the vulnerable you. But vulnerability is not about oversharing. It's about sharing the parts of yourself that matter in the moment. It's about opening up in a way that invites others in, without overwhelming them. When you communicate transparently, you create an atmosphere where others feel safe to be open too. You give them permission to share their thoughts, their feelings, and their fears. This mutual transparency strengthens the bond of trust. It creates a foundation of shared understanding and respect. Transparency also means taking responsibility for your words and actions. When you make a mistake, admit it. When you don't know something, say so. When you disagree with someone, express it honestly, without fear or aggression. People trust those who take responsibility for their actions. People trust those who are humble enough to admit their faults. People trust those who are not afraid to show their imperfections. This is how trust is built. Through open, honest, and consistent communication. Through actions that align with words. Through vulnerability that creates connection. Through responsibility that earns respect. But trust is also about creating emotional safety. When you communicate transparently, you create a space where people feel they can be themselves, without fear of judgment. Transparency removes barriers. It allows people to speak freely. It encourages honesty, and it builds an environment of respect and understanding. When you are transparent, you show others that you are willing to meet them halfway. You show them that you are committed to creating an open, honest relationship. where communication flows freely and trust is the foundation. But transparency also requires emotional intelligence. You cannot be transparent if you do not understand your own emotions. You cannot communicate openly if you do not have the self-awareness to understand what you feel and why you feel it. Emotional intelligence allows you to express yourself honestly without being reactive. It helps you understand your own needs, emotions, and boundaries, so you can communicate them clearly to others. When you are emotionally intelligent, you can communicate in a way that is open but respectful, vulnerable but strong. You can create transparency without overwhelming others. This balance of openness and respect is what creates trust. It's what makes people feel safe with you. It's what makes them feel they can rely on you. Social masters know that trust is built over time. One conversation, one action, one moment at a time. They know that transparency isn't a one-time thing. It's a way of being. To build trust, you must be consistent in your transparency. Every conversation, every interaction, every word must align with your commitment to openness. Trust also grows through patience. You cannot rush trust. It's time to build. It takes time to prove that your words are reliable, that your intentions are true, that your actions match your promises. But over time, trust strengthens. It becomes unshakable. It becomes the foundation of your relationships, both personal and professional. And once trust is established, it becomes a powerful tool. It makes communication easier, more effective, more impactful, because when people trust you, they listen to you, they believe in you, they follow you, and this is the power of transparent communication. It doesn't just create connection, it creates trust. When you speak transparently, you open up the possibility for others to speak transparently. You create an atmosphere where honesty thrives, where respect is mutual, and where trust becomes the foundation of every conversation. But this requires consistency, vulnerability, and emotional intelligence. It requires you to show up as your true self, to take responsibility for your words, to admit mistakes, and to create a space where others feel safe enough to do the same. This is how social masters build trust, through transparency, through honesty, through connection. When you communicate transparently, you create the most powerful connection of all, a bond built on trust that cannot be broken. Chapter 6. The role of emotional intelligence in communication. Communication is not just about words. It's about feelings, emotions, and energy. And no one understands this more than those who possess high emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, and the ability to recognize, understand, and influence the emotions of others. In communication, emotional intelligence is your superpower. It is the force that guides every interaction you have, shaping the way you connect with people, the way you influence them, and the way you leave them feeling. Emotional intelligence is not something you are born with. It is something you can develop. It's the ability to sense what others are feeling, even if they don't say a word. It's the ability to adjust your communication based on someone's emotional state. It's the ability to listen not only with your ears but with your heart. When you communicate with emotional intelligence, you are aware of both your own emotional state and the emotional state of those around you. This awareness allows you to respond to others with empathy, compassion, and understanding. Without emotional intelligence, communication is like speaking in a foreign language. You may understand the words, but the meaning gets lost in translation. But with emotional intelligence, you speak the language of emotions. You understand what is unsaid, what is felt beneath the surface. And you communicate in a way that resonates on a deeper level. One of the first elements of emotional intelligence in communication is self-awareness. To communicate effectively, you must first understand your own emotions. You must be aware of how your emotions influence your thoughts, behaviors, and reactions. When you are self-aware, you know when you are angry, sad, excited, or anxious, and you know how those emotions affect your communication. You can catch yourself before your emotions take over, allowing you to respond with clarity and purpose instead of reacting impulsively. Self-awareness also means recognizing your emotional triggers. It's knowing that certain situations or words will stir up strong feelings within you, and it's understanding how to handle those feelings constructively. For example, if you know that you tend to get defensive when criticized, you can practice staying calm and listening with an open mind, rather than immediately reacting with anger or defensiveness. This self-regulation allows you to communicate more thoughtfully, without letting emotions cloud your judgment. It helps you stay grounded in the conversation, no matter how intense the emotions may be. The second element of emotional intelligence is empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Empathy is the heart of communication. It is the ability to connect with someone on an emotional level, to feel what they are feeling, and to respond in a way that is compassionate and supportive. Empathy is not just about listening to someone's words. It's about sensing their emotional state, their body language, their tone of voice, and their energy. When you empathize with someone, you listen deeply. You give them space to express themselves fully, without interrupting or judging. You understand that their emotions are valid, and you hold space for them to feel whatever they are feeling. Empathy allows you to connect with others in a way that is meaningful. It helps you understand their perspective, their needs, and their desires, and when you communicate with empathy, you create a bond that goes beyond words. Empathy also requires emotional attunement. This means you are not just aware of the other person's emotions, but you are in tune with them. You feel their emotional shifts, their comfort, their discomfort, and you adjust your communication to match their emotional state. For example, if someone is upset, you don't bombard them with solutions. You listen with patience, offering them space to express their feelings. You mirror their emotions, showing them that you understand and care. And when the time is right, you offer support or guidance. When you communicate with empathy, you allow others to feel heard and valued, and that emotional connection fosters trust, respect, and deeper understanding. The third element of emotional intelligence in communication is social awareness. This is your ability to recognize and understand the emotions of others in social situations. It's about tuning into the emotional atmosphere of a room and reading the room, and understanding the unspoken dynamics of a conversation. Social awareness is the ability to sense when something is off, even if no one is saying anything. It's the ability to pick up on subtle cues, body language, facial expressions, the tone of voice, and use that information to guide your responses. For example, if you walk into a meeting and sense that tension is high, you adjust your approach accordingly. You become aware of how others are feeling, and you tailor your communication to match the mood of the group. This sensitivity to social dynamics allows you to communicate more effectively in group settings, whether you are leading a meeting, collaborating with colleagues, or interacting with friends. Social awareness also means being mindful of cultural and social differences. What may be appropriate in one setting may not be appropriate in another. Emotional intelligence helps you navigate these differences with respect and understanding, ensuring that your communication is inclusive and sensitive to the needs of others. Finally, emotional intelligence in communication involves relationship management, the ability to influence, inspire, and guide others with your words. When you understand your own emotions, empathize with others, and recognize the emotional dynamics around you, you can manage your relationships in a way that builds trust, respect, and collaboration. Relationship management involves more than just speaking. It involves listening, responding, and guiding conversations in a way that fosters connection. It's about offering support when someone is struggling, offering praise when someone succeeds, and providing constructive feedback when needed. Social masters use their emotional intelligence to create positive, productive relationships. They know how to motivate, encourage, and inspire others, and they do so by speaking from a place of authenticity and empathy. Emotional intelligence gives you the tools to navigate difficult conversations with ease. It helps you stay calm in moments of tension, maintain empathy in moments of disagreement, and build bridges even when differences arise. Emotional intelligence is the key to building trust in any relationship. It allows you to connect on a deeper level, understand each other's emotional needs, and communicate with respect and care. And the more emotionally intelligent you become, the more effective you will be in your communication. You will be able to navigate complex emotions, manage conflicts with ease, and create relationships that are based on trust and mutual respect. This is the power of emotional intelligence in communication. It is the ability to connect with others in a way that is real, meaningful, and emotionally grounded. And it is this power that will change the way you communicate, the way you connect with others, and the way you navigate the world. Chapter 7. Building influence through effective communication. Influence isn't about dominating conversations or forcing your agenda. It's about the ability to connect, to inspire, and to guide others toward a shared vision. And the most effective way to build influence is through communication. Communication is the tool you use to express your ideas, thoughts, and intentions. But influence is built not just by what you say, but how you say it. It's built on your ability to connect emotionally, to resonate with others, and to make them feel seen and heard. Effective communicators understand this balance. They speak with clarity, purpose, and intent, but also with emotional intelligence. They know that words carry weight, but it's the energy behind those words that truly moves people. Influence is not about being persuasive for the sake of persuasion. It's about being authentic, aligning with others' needs, and guiding them towards something greater than themselves. It's about creating a space where others feel safe enough to trust your guidance. Building influence through communication begins with connection. People follow those they feel connected to, not necessarily the loudest or most confident person in the room. They follow the person who listens, who understands, who respects their feelings and opinions. When you make others feel understood, they trust you. When you respect their point of view, they're more likely to respect yours, and respect is the cornerstone of influence. To build influence, you must first listen actively and attentively. When you listen, you create rapport. When you understand others' needs, their struggles, and their desires, you gain trust. And when you have trust, you have influence. Effective communicators listen for understanding, not just to respond. They listen to learn, to empathize, and to make others feel valued. Listening actively shows others that their voice matters, and in turn, they are more likely to listen to yours. Influence is also about timing, knowing when to speak, when to pause, and when to let silence carry the weight of your words. Great communicators know that timing can make all the difference. It's not just about what you say, but when you say it. If you speak too soon, you may interrupt the flow of the conversation. If you speak too late, the moment may pass, and your words may not resonate. Mastering timing allows you to speak with authority and impact. But timing is not just about when you speak, it's also about pacing. Speaking too quickly can overwhelm people. Speaking too slowly can make your message feel less urgent. The right pace allows your message to sink in and gives others time to process what you're saying. Another powerful aspect of communication is nonverbal cues. Your body language, tone of voice, and even your facial expressions communicate just as much as your words. When you align your body language with your message, your influence grows exponentially. Nonverbal communication is subtle but powerful. A confident posture, a steady gaze, a calm tone, all of these signal authority, trustworthiness, and emotional stability. When people sense your grounded presence, they are more likely to trust your leadership. In addition to nonverbal cues, emotional intelligence plays a huge role in building influence. Being aware of your own emotions and the emotions of others allows you to respond appropriately. When you understand how people feel, you can communicate in a way that resonates with them on a deeper level. Emotional intelligence also allows you to navigate conflict effectively. When tension arises, the ability to stay calm and composed, to listen actively, and to speak with empathy is invaluable. By managing your emotions and responding to others' emotions, you prevent escalation and turn potential conflict into collaboration. Building influence also requires authenticity. People trust those who are real, who speak with honesty, and who lead with integrity. When your words align with your actions, your influence becomes magnetic. Influence is not about manipulation. It's not about convincing people to do what you want them to do. It's about guiding them, showing them a vision, and inspiring them to take action. When you speak authentically, others are more likely to believe in you and in what you're saying. Another essential component of building influence is providing value. People follow those who add value to their lives. If your words inspire, educate, or empower others, your influence grows. If you're simply speaking to hear yourself talk, your influence will fade. Providing value through communication means sharing knowledge, offering support, and helping others achieve their goals. When you help others succeed, you build a loyal following. When you contribute to their well-being, they are more likely to support you in return. Influence is also about consistency. You don't build influence by speaking once and then disappearing. You build influence by consistently showing up, consistently communicating, and consistently living your values. People trust those who are reliable, who follow through on their promises, and who maintain their integrity over time. Social masters understand that influence takes time. It's not about quick wins or temporary gains. It's about building relationships that are built on mutual respect, trust, and value. When you communicate with consistency, your influence grows naturally. Another important aspect of influence is the ability to inspire. Great communicators don't just talk to inform, they talk to inspire. They don't just share facts, they share stories that evoke emotion. They don't just speak about what is, but about what could be. Inspiration is contagious. When you inspire others, you motivate them to take action. You get them excited about a vision, a cause, a purpose. And when people are excited about something, they're more likely to follow you. But influence also requires responsibility. When you have influence, you have power. And with power comes accountability. You must use your influence wisely, not for personal gain, but for the benefit of others. This responsibility is what separates true leaders from manipulators. True leaders use their influence to uplift others, to guide them toward their best selves, to help them grow and succeed. Building influence is about service. It's about making others feel important, valued, and heard. It's about inspiring them to become their best selves, not just following you but becoming leaders themselves. Finally, building influence requires patience. You don't gain influence overnight. It takes time to build trust, to prove your worth, and to earn the respect of others. But if you communicate with purpose, authenticity, and emotional intelligence, your influence will grow, and over time, it will become unshakable. People will listen to you. They will follow you. They will trust you. This is the power of effective communication. It is the key to building influence that lasts a lifetime. Chapter 8. The role of social perception in communication. Social perception is the lens through which we view the world and the people in it. It's how we interpret the actions, intentions, and behaviors of others. And, whether we realize it or not, our perception shapes every interaction we have. We all carry biases, judgments, and assumptions, whether we are aware of them or not. These mental filters color the way we understand others' words, gestures, and actions. They shape the way we listen, the way we speak, and the way we connect. Social perception is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it helps us navigate the complexities of human interaction. It allows us to make sense of the world and understand the motives behind people's behaviors. On the other hand, it can also lead to misunderstandings, stereotypes, and misjudgments. In communication, the gap between what we intend to say and how it's perceived by others can be vast. And that's where the power of social perception comes into play. It's not just about what you say, it's about how others perceive what you say. A simple comment can be heard differently, depending on the listener's perception. A friendly gesture can be seen as genuine or manipulative. A calm tone can be interpreted as confidence or indifference. Understanding social perception allows you to communicate with more precision, more empathy, and more impact. But first you must understand the forces that shape it. The first force is context. The environment in which a conversation takes place significantly impacts how we interpret the message. In a formal setting, a joke may come across as inappropriate, while in an informal setting, The same joke might be seen as light-hearted. Context provides the framework for understanding, and without it, messages become distorted. Your audience's mood, their personal experiences, their cultural background, all of these elements contribute to their perception of your message. The second force is the observer's past experiences. We all view the world through the lens of our own history, our upbringing, our culture, our relationships, our successes and failures. These experiences shape how we perceive the intentions of others. For example, if someone has had negative experiences with authority figures in the past, they may interpret a simple directive from a manager as a sign of control or criticism, even if it wasn't intended that way. On the flip side, someone who has had positive experiences with leadership may perceive the same directive as guidance and support. This is why two people can hear the same thing but walk away with different interpretations. It's not just about the words, it's about the personal filter through which those words pass. Social perception is also influenced by nonverbal cues. Our body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, and even the way we position ourselves in space. All of these nonverbal signals carry meaning. People are constantly sending and receiving nonverbal messages, even when they are not speaking. A crossed arm can signal defensiveness. A raised eyebrow can signal disbelief. A warm smile can signal friendliness. These cues often convey more than words themselves, and they have a significant impact on how a message is received. One of the challenges of social perception is that it's subjective. What one person perceives as warmth, another might perceive as insincerity. What one person sees as confidence, another might interpret as arrogance. This is why communication requires sensitivity. You need to be aware of how your words and actions are being interpreted, and you need to be open to the fact that your perception may not always align with others. Self-awareness is key here. The more aware you are of your own social perception, the biases, assumptions, and judgments you bring to the table, the better equipped you are to navigate interactions effectively. In social perception, intent often gets lost. We may say something with positive intentions, but the listener may interpret it differently based on their own emotional state or experiences. This gap between intent and perception is the root of many misunderstandings. For example, a well-meaning compliment can be perceived as patronizing. A straightforward question can be perceived as an interrogation. A casual comment can be taken as criticism. In these moments, it's important to be flexible with your perception of others. If you sense that your message isn't being received as you intended, ask for clarification. Check in with the other person, and be open to adjusting your approach. Social masters understand that communication is fluid, and they are always adjusting their message to ensure it lands in the right way. One way to bridge the gap between intent and perception is by practicing empathy. Empathy allows you to step into the other person's shoes and understand their perspective. When you empathize, you acknowledge the emotional state of others, and you adjust your communication to meet their needs. But empathy isn't just about understanding others, it's about understanding yourself as well. It's about knowing how your own emotional state, biases, and experiences affect the way you communicate. When you understand this, you become more capable of responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Perception is also influenced by social cues. Every group has its own set of unspoken rules. Cultural norms, social hierarchy, and shared experiences shape how people perceive each other's words and actions. For example, a direct style of communication may be perceived as rude in one culture, but as honest and efficient in another. Understanding these cues is essential for effective communication. It allows you to adapt your message to fit the social context, ensuring that your words are received as intended. But there's another layer to social perception: the power of expectation. People often perceive what they expect to perceive. If you expect someone to be difficult or unapproachable, you're more likely to interpret their words and actions negatively. But if you approach others with an open mind and positive expectations, you're more likely to see them in a favorable light. This is why a positive attitude can dramatically change how you communicate with others. Your perception shapes not only how you see others, but also how they see you. People are drawn to those who project confidence. positivity, and authenticity. And when you communicate with clarity and emotional intelligence, you become a powerful influence in any social setting. So how do you master social perception? It starts with awareness. Awareness of your own biases, awareness of others' emotional states, and awareness of the social context in which you're communicating. It also involves adaptability. You can't control how others perceive you, but you can control how you respond. By being open, flexible, and empathetic, you ensure that your message is received in the way it was intended. And finally, social perception requires practice. The more you engage with others, the more you learn to read the room, to pick up on subtle cues, and to adjust your communication accordingly. The best communicators are the ones who understand the art of social perception. They know how to meet others where they are, how to connect emotionally, and how to guide conversations toward mutual understanding. When you understand social perception, you unlock the power to build deeper, more meaningful connections. You build trust, you build rapport, and you communicate in a way that transcends words. Because communication is not just about talking. It's about creating a shared understanding, a shared experience. It's about building bridges, not just exchanging information. And when you master the role of social perception in communication, you become the kind of communicator that people listen to, trust, and respect. Chapter 9. The Influence of Body Language in Communication. We speak more with our bodies than we do with our mouths. The way we stand, sit, move, and gesture tells a story, sometimes louder than the words we speak. Body language is the unspoken language that flows between people. It is the first form of communication we learn, long before we even speak our first word. And it continues to shape every interaction we have, whether we're aware of it or not. When we communicate, our bodies are constantly sending signals, consciously and unconsciously. These signals give people insight into our emotional state, our intentions, and even our true feelings, often revealing more than our words ever could. A slight shift in posture, a glance away, a relaxed hand, a firm handshake, all of these movements speak volumes, even without a single word being said. Body language is a mirror of our emotional landscape. When we feel confident, our bodies open up. When we feel anxious, we shrink. When we feel angry, our gestures become sharp and abrupt. When we feel comfortable, we lean in, engage, and make eye contact. It's this subtle yet powerful language that influences how we connect with others. People feel more comfortable with those whose body language is open, relaxed, and engaging. They feel guarded around those whose body language is closed, tense, or defensive. Your body speaks before your words do, and once people read the message your body is sending, it becomes difficult to change that perception with words alone. But body language isn't just about how others perceive us. It's also about how we perceive ourselves. When we change our posture or our movement, we don't just influence how others see us, we influence how we feel about ourselves. When we stand tall, walk with purpose, and maintain open body language, we project confidence, not just to others, but to ourselves. We begin to feel more capable, more powerful, because our body reinforces those beliefs. This is why body language is so powerful. It has the ability to change our internal state, to lift us up, to ground us, and to communicate our emotions before we even say a word. But body language is not universal. Different cultures interpret body language differently. What feels natural in one culture may be interpreted as rude in another. A gesture that feels like friendliness in one country can be seen as disrespect in another. An expression that signals confidence in one society may be perceived as arrogance in another. So understanding the body language of others is key to effective communication. It's not enough to understand how your own body speaks. You must also learn how to read the body language of others, so you can respond appropriately. When you understand the emotional landscape of others, the subtle signals their bodies send, you gain the ability to connect with them on a deeper level. You begin to see beyond their words and understand the unspoken truth of what they are feeling. For example, if someone is speaking with a raised voice but has their arms crossed, it's likely they're feeling defensive. If someone is speaking with a soft, quiet voice but is leaning forward, they're probably deeply engaged and interested. If someone's eyes are darting around while they're speaking, they may be anxious or uncomfortable. Reading these signals helps you adjust your communication. You can match your tone to their energy, adapt your message to their mood, and respond in a way that acknowledges their emotional state. This skill makes you a more effective communicator because it allows you to connect with people beyond just their words. It allows you to engage with their emotions, and that emotional connection is the key to building trust and rapport. But it's not just about reading the body language of others. It's also about aligning your body language with your message. When your words and body language are in sync, your message becomes more powerful. When they're out of sync, your message becomes confusing. For example, if you tell someone, "I'm happy to help," but your arms are crossed and your posture is stiff, they will likely sense your insincerity, even if your words say otherwise. But when your words and body language align, your message lands with impact. People feel your sincerity. They feel your openness. They feel your energy. This alignment creates trust, because people can feel when you are being authentic. They can sense when your words are backed by the energy of your body. The next powerful aspect of body language is its ability to influence others. When you communicate with open, confident body language, you invite others to respond in kind. People tend to mirror your energy, and this creates rapport. For example, if you stand with an open posture, with your arms at your sides and your chest facing forward, people around you are more likely to adopt a similar stance. They'll naturally feel more comfortable and confident in your presence. This mirroring happens unconsciously. Humans are hardwired to respond to the energy of others. So when you lead with confident, positive body language, you influence the energy of the room, creating a space where people feel more connected and engaged. But body language also plays a critical role in managing conflict. When emotions are high, the way you hold your body can either escalate or de-escalate the situation. If you approach someone with an aggressive stance, arms crossed, shoulders tense, eyes narrowed, you will create tension, even if your words are calm. But if you approach them with open body language, standing tall, shoulders relaxed, making eye contact, you signal that you are open to communication, ready to listen, and not a threat. This openness calms the emotional state of others. It creates space for resolution, and it paves the way for productive, respectful communication. Body language also affects how we communicate in groups. In meetings, for example, those with open, expansive body language tend to command attention. They appear more authoritative, more confident. Their presence dominates the room, and people are more likely to listen. On the other hand, those who sit hunched or close themselves off with their body language are less likely to be heard. Their energy is quieter, their message softer, and people tend to tune out. But influence through body language isn't just about being dominant or forceful. It's about creating balance and control through calmness and composure. When you communicate with relaxed body language, people feel safe around you. They trust your authority without feeling threatened by it. The influence of body language also extends to listening. When you lean forward slightly, make eye contact, and nod as someone speaks, you communicate that you are engaged, interested, and ready to listen. These subtle cues show that you value the other person's words, and in return, they are more likely to listen to you. Body language in communication is a two-way street. It's not just about sending signals, but about receiving them as well. And this makes your communication more effective because you're aware of how others feel and how they are responding to you. Finally, body language is a reflection of your emotional state. If you're anxious, your body will tighten. If you're confident, you'll stand taller. If you're unsure, you'll make yourself smaller. The beauty of body language is that it allows you to change your state simply by adjusting your posture, your facial expressions, or your gestures. When you consciously change your body language, you change how you feel and how others perceive you. And when you align your emotional state with your body language, you become a more powerful communicator. Your message becomes clearer, your influence stronger, and your connections deeper. So the next time you enter a conversation, take a moment to check your body language. Stand tall, relax your shoulders, smile gently, take a deep breath, and feel the shift in energy that follows. Body language speaks louder than words, and when you master it, your communication will be more effective, more influential, and more authentic than ever before. Chapter 10. Communicating with Emotional Intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to identify, understand, manage, and influence emotions, both in yourself and in others. In communication, emotional intelligence is the foundation of connection. It allows you to relate to others on a deeper level, navigate complex emotions, and influence conversations with empathy and understanding. When you communicate with emotional intelligence, you don't just hear words, you hear feelings. You don't just see gestures, you see the emotional undercurrent behind them. Emotional intelligence shapes every interaction, from the smallest exchange to the most significant conversations. It turns a simple "how are you" into an opportunity to understand someone's emotional state. It transforms conflict into collaboration and frustration into understanding. The first component of emotional intelligence in communication is self-awareness. Self-awareness means recognizing your own emotions in the moment, understanding how they affect your thoughts and behavior, and being able to communicate them effectively. When you are self-aware, you are in control of your emotional responses. You don't react impulsively to situations. You pause, take a breath, and choose how to respond. Self-awareness in communication means knowing when you're getting frustrated, when you're feeling defensive, or when you're excited. It means being able to express your emotions without letting them control the conversation. For example, if you're upset, being self-aware allows you to take a step back and assess the situation, rather than reacting out of anger or frustration. It gives you the ability to express your emotions calmly and constructively, so your message is received clearly and without escalation. Being self-aware also means being in touch with your needs, your values, and your boundaries. When you understand what you need in a conversation, whether it's validation, clarity, or resolution, you can communicate these needs effectively. The second component of emotional intelligence in communication is self-regulation. Self-regulation is the ability to manage your emotions, especially in challenging or stressful situations. When you can regulate your emotions, you maintain control of yourself even when emotions run high. You don't let anger, frustration, or anxiety dictate your behavior. Self-regulation in communication means you can remain calm and composed, even when someone challenges you, disagrees with you, or criticizes you. It allows you to stay grounded and focused on the conversation, rather than being swept away by your emotional responses. For example, if someone criticizes you in a meeting, self-regulation allows you to listen without getting defensive. It gives you the ability to respond with composure, to ask questions, to clarify, and to resolve the issue without escalating the tension. Self-regulation also means having the ability to adjust your emotional state to suit the situation. When you need to be empathetic, you can soften your tone and speak gently. When you need to be assertive, you can firm up your voice and stand your ground. The third component of emotional intelligence is motivation. Motivation in communication is about being driven by a desire to communicate effectively, to create connection, and to achieve mutual understanding. Motivated communicators don't speak to win arguments or assert dominance. They speak to collaborate, to inspire, and to build bridges. Motivation means that your communication is rooted in a sense of purpose. When you're motivated to connect with others, your words carry meaning, your tone carries warmth, and your message inspires action. Motivation also means staying focused on the bigger picture, even when the conversation takes a difficult turn. It's about maintaining an eye on the outcome, whether it's resolving a conflict, building a relationship, or sharing an idea, and staying committed to that goal. For example, if you're discussing a sensitive issue with a colleague, your motivation is to resolve the issue in a way that benefits both parties. Your motivation shapes your approach. You listen attentively, express your concerns clearly, and work together to find a solution. The fourth component of emotional intelligence is empathy. Empathy is the ability to recognize and understand the emotions of others. It's the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and experience the world through their perspective. Empathy is the foundation of connection. It allows you to connect with others on a deeper, more emotional level. When you empathize with someone, you show them that you understand not just their words, but their feelings, their needs, and their concerns. Empathy is not about agreeing with someone. It's about acknowledging their emotional experience, validating their feelings, and showing them that they are heard. In communication, empathy means listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart. It means responding to what someone needs emotionally, not just what they're saying logically. For example, if a colleague is upset, empathy means acknowledging their frustration, saying, "I understand why this is frustrating," and then offering support or assistance. It means connecting with them on an emotional level before offering solutions. Empathy also helps you communicate with greater sensitivity. You can adjust your tone, your words, and your approach based on the emotional state of the other person. This ensures that your message is received in the way you intend, and it deepens your connection with others. The fifth component of emotional intelligence is social skills. Social skills refer to the ability to manage relationships and navigate social situations effectively. When you communicate with strong social skills, you are able to build rapport, resolve conflicts, influence others, and foster positive relationships. Social skills are about reading the room, understanding group dynamics, and adapting your communication style to fit the context. They allow you to connect with others, influence their decisions, and create a sense of unity and cooperation. For example, in a meeting, social skills allow you to engage everyone, encourage participation, and manage differing opinions. They allow you to create an atmosphere of collaboration, where everyone feels heard and valued. Strong social skills also allow you to navigate difficult conversations with ease. When emotions run high, you can de-escalate tension and bring the conversation back to a constructive place. When disagreements arise, you can manage them respectfully and find common ground. Communication with emotional intelligence doesn't just make you a better speaker, it makes you a better listener, a better connector, and a better leader. You become someone who understands the emotional landscape of every conversation, who can guide others toward understanding, and who can inspire people to act in alignment with shared goals. The true power of emotional intelligence in communication lies in its ability to connect hearts and minds. It allows you to communicate not just with words, but with presence, with empathy, and with purpose. When you communicate with emotional intelligence, you create a space where others feel safe to share their thoughts and feelings. You build trust, you inspire action, and you make people feel valued, heard, and understood. This is the art of communication, and emotional intelligence is the key that unlocks it.